Okay, guys, there's an interesting video we got tagged for, basically. One of my viewers sent me this video and said I'm in it, so we gotta watch it. Apparently, we've been featured in The Score Esports, which is a pretty big channel for esports. 90k views in 22 hours. They blame him for everything. It's about Phreak season, so we're gonna watch this. Let's see. I also blame. Stop with the Phreak blame. God damn it. Okay, let's watch the video.
Phreak was once the voice of League of Legends. He introduced the community to all of the newest champions.
No, Nikasor. She's the voice and the face of League of Legends, okay? He just piggybacked tons of damage off of her, you know?
Spotlight.
That's how he became popular.
The Grandmaster at Arms.
Helped viewers understand the game.
And we might block off all 5 if they think.
Dude, all the brushes look so weird right now.
Or they'll wait for someone to cross, wall up the rest of the team, and then jump in onto that teammate.
And was there for some of its most memorable moments.
Gets a bunch back, but Hoodie, the double, the quadra kill for Hoodie.
But when Phreak made a career change from casting to game design, all of the community's goodwill and love,
tons of damage,
turned
There's Nikasor.
toxic.
You have no mana.
Toxic.
You have no mana.
Okay, like this is not when he became a this is not when he became a game dev. This is a personal beef between him and Tyler 1 because Tyler 1 got banned, right? This was like a and the Phreak said something about his ban. This was very, very personal shit. This had nothing to do with that.
Get the out of here! Let's go!
Nowadays, Phreak gets blamed for basically everything that's wrong with
That's
him.
true.
But is any of that criticism actually justified?
Some of it,
Or
yeah.
Is all of this Phreak hate just a symptom of a larger problem?
There's no way that this guy buffed tank junglers just so he could abuse them! There's no way! No.
Dantes. Yeah, I hope they don't go like too hard and like because the thing is with these sort of like it's not documentary style, but these like analysis YouTube videos, they always do this sort of stuff and they mix and match with the context and kind of mess around, you know, whatever fits the narrative, you know. They kind of try to concoct the narrative. And there it was like, oh, everything turned against Phreak when he became like when he became part of the design team. And it's like that was very, very recently that happened. And that Tyler 1 drum was so old. And also featuring clips of, let's say, Dante's roasting him. I mean, Dante's is a pretty good incentive to just shout and scream and entertain his audience. Like, you would really have to sit down and talk to him, like, in a nice way, you know? Like, he's obviously gonna roast, like, he's gonna miss a minion, it's gonna be like Phreak season, okay? It's the meme.
Like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss any of our newest content. Now, let's talk about Phreak. David Phreak, better known in the League of Legends community as Phreak, began his gaming journey with Warcraft 3.
Rain. Holla. I'll get your name at the end of the audio, but whoever said, so I had a dream about Phreak last night, shout out to you. That song was dedicated to you, by the way, because in your dreams it was probably raining me.
Eventually, his involvement in that game's competitive scene landed him an internship at Riot Games. Because Phreak had previous experience with commentating on early Warcraft 3 gameplay, he was tapped to be the voice of Riot's new undertaking, the Champion Spotlight.
Welcome to the League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring Zyra, Rise of the Thorns.
Anytime that a new champion was released, it was Phreak's voice that laid out
it's a pretty big job.
Players.
Vayne is a ranged DPS assassin. She's big on mobility and surprise, pinning down single targets and severely weakening them before they can retaliate.
Dude, the old champion spotlight.
Phreak began casting League of Legends matches.
And D-Man, dude, is that Joe Miller? Joe Miller? Is that him? Holy fucking shit.
Casting League of Legends matches. And as
D-Man?
someone who clearly both loved the game and understood its intricacies, he quickly became a fan favorite.
After my
I don't know. I've been in this community for a really long time. I don't think Phreak was ever the fan favorite. I don't think he was ever the favorite shoutcaster. He was more of a tons of damage champion spotlight meme guy. Like, he was there for the puns. I don't think it was ever, like, during any of the ensembles of casters, I don't think it was ever like the fan favorite. There was always somebody people like loved more. But yeah.
Question with you. You are now my biggest.
I guess that's the narrative is gonna like flip on its head when he becomes a designer. You know, like everyone hates him now.
True.
Kind of
So Phreak, how are you enjoying the European side of the LCS? Well, Shocks, call me McDonald's because I'm loving it.
Another
yeah, like you have Quickshot next to you. You're not gonna be a fan favorite there. Let's be real. Quickshot is one of their best guys, like especially when they have delays and because he like really does good fillers.
I'm loving it.
Another thing that Phreak started doing was creating and uploading patch rundowns.
These are great. These are objectively great.
And back then, it really felt as if the community appreciated Phreak taking the time to break down the changes.
This is
Hello,
great.
everyone, and welcome
Can't
to
say
the
anything
patch
against it.
7.9 rundown. 7.9 is the mid-season, preseason, whatever you want to call it, patch. It is the first patch of the mid-season changes.
Now, as League of Legends itself got bigger and bigger, so too did Phreak's involvement with a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And after a decade of casting, he decided to transition into an entirely new role at Riot.
What's up, fellow gamers? Phreak here with an announcement for my plans for the next year. I am retiring from casting for the LCS and moving on to be a game designer on League of Legends on the Summoners.
What was it, season 13?
Now, for the first 6 months or so, we didn't hear a lot from Phreak. If he'd been involved with any sort of balance decision during that time, it wasn't publicly known. But then, in patch 13.10, this happened. ADC items were buffed, and longtime ADC, Phreak, had a direct hand in buffing them. And the community didn't quite know what to make of it.
These new items, well, that's Static Shiv. It's back, but it looks different. It's 3 brand new items. This is already, dude, they really did. Dude, this is so stupid. I'm sorry it is. Bro, you have to do this during preseason or at the end of the rank split.
Rapid fire cannon. 30 AD. Wait, what the f? Honestly, my brain is like melting looking at this.
50% AP. What? Bonus magic damage increase to 123. I don't even know what's going on anymore, guys. These items are crazy.
The static shit was fucking crazy.
Only spec for movement speed, and everything in my inventory gives me move speed. Can I move? Do I have speed? Nope. Am I tanky? Nope. Do I do any damage? Am I moving Skarner or
that's
health
brilliant.
bar? Nope. Is season 13 and does Riot Phreak need a between the eyes? Yup.
Riot is just ruining the game by buffing AD carry so much.
In his usual patch rundown, Phreak addressed the rising sentiment that pointed to him being the mastermind behind changes that supposedly benefited him directly.
And this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. I'm all for criticism, and if anyone has a spat with Phreak, I did, because of the whole like negotiations between the Vel'Koz community and Phreak. Like, you can't do this one. This is just too much. You cannot pin this on him. Like, there's no way ever. Like, he's not a monarch of Riot Games. He doesn't like have an empire. He's not a god emperor. He doesn't like just top down decisions and be like, I want my champion. But that's not how it works. These decisions have to go through a lot of people, and they all agree on it, kinda, and they work together on a lot of these designs. He can maybe provide a unique AD carry perspective or work on certain things, but to buff champs so he can rank up is just ridiculous, man. Crazy accusation.
Obviously easy to sell a narrative. Certainly community opinion, at least the really engaged like Twitter,
I think that's a bit crazy.
Opinion is that AD carry is overpowered. Here's Phreak, the AD carry main, buffing a bunch of AD carries. I would like to note,
it just looks really bad. Like, if AD carries are very good and the design team is like AD carry, hell, even if you're support, they're gonna be like, oh, you like an AD carry, you know. If you're a jungle, oh, you like buffs AD carry, you know. Like, he has a son who's an AD carry main. The criticism will come. The point is, the problem is that he's responding to this criticism. Like, you're not supposed to engage with the community in fights. You're not supposed to get on the level of community. As a lead game dev, or like a game dev, like here, he wasn't lead at this point. You're supposed to have thicker skin, and patch rundowns are great. They're lovely. You should be able to do them, and you should be they should be related to the patches and objective game design. As soon as you get to the level of fighting with community, there is no winning. You're never gonna win that fight. You're literally asking and begging for more. And that's his biggest sore mistake, that he kept fighting, like with the whole Karthus shebang, where he told the community that they can shove it and that they all are terrible because they cannot type mid-fight press R. Make a design and explain why you're doing it, but do not fight with the community. It's terrible.
To you that there's not that much factual accuracy here. I've mostly been maining support this season, and I mained jungle the last two.
See, like, why is he defending himself? Like, what the f? You're just one of the random devs in there, and you're defending yourself because Phreak buffs it. Why? Why? You're not in court, homie. Like, why are you defending?
Historically, I guess, sure, I've been an AD carry main, but, like, my diamond climb has been jungle and support over the last 3 times, so, you know, lots of intelligence here on the internet.
But the wheels had been set in motion. Certain personalities became...
Unpopular opinion. I think he's turning the wheels by engaging in this sort of combative behavior and trying to defend himself against the community, and the community wants to pin it even harder on him. And then he tries to say something that comes off condescendingly, then community attacks him for that very statement and the way he delivered it instead of the actual context of the statement and the content of it. So they go back and forth, and the wheels keep moving. Eventually, and then he leaves the social media because he's getting death threats because he got in a bunch of fights with the L9 wannabes, and he just put oil into the fire, you know, or he put fuel into the fire, like oil. Actually, oil. Like, okay, this is a very good tip, guys. If your oil is burning in a pot, don't put water in it. That's just gonna, because the differences in the texture, oil is gonna go to the upwards, and the water is gonna go down, and then the oil is gonna like burst out, and you're gonna set your fire ablaze. Actually, putting more oil is better because then you're gonna disperse the heat. Anyway, it's not oil to the fire, it's fuel to the fire. Shut up, Chud.
Unironically suspicious as to Phreak's motivations when it came to balancing League of Legends. Some of the other changes that Phreak was involved in, such as Bard's buff, were thus met with more...
Yeah, Bard buff is ridiculous.
And some of his more vocal detractors were digging into the fact that Phreak was using Riot set metrics for whether or not certain champions were in a good spot, using hard numbers, specifically ban rates, to make that determination. Meanwhile, as a lot of League players can probably attest, sometimes playing with or against a certain champion just feels bad, and no amount of data can make that feeling go away.
Here's another banger by Phreak. Came out today, okay? You guys ready for this one? Will Rakan ever see nerfs? Honestly, I don't find it pressing. Bro! What game?
How does he keep missing every time? How does he keep missing? Rakan was broken since release. Since release. Like, when he came out, I banned him for 2 years straight. Okay? I never let that champion through. It's so bro. Even today, like, last game we played against Rakan, he's still pick or ban almost after extensive nerfs.
Is he... What game is he playing? This champ's been the best support in the game for the past 3 years. Like, not all the time. At some points, he's also been don't get me wrong.
I can't defend him on this one.
This champ
You're on your own. You're on your own,
Things
Phreak.
really came to a head on September 27th, 2023, when Phreak took on a new role as the designer.
Oh, lead. Here we go.
For the Summoner Rift
This is where the fun
Drive
begins.
Pod. If Phreak was able to fly a bit under the radar before, now
every change is Phreak season, and he becomes the biggest scapegoat for everything that happened. I stubbed my toe this morning. Damn you, Phreak. Yeah.
being heavily involved in setting the direction.
I'm Hearthstone Iron for 10 years. You Phreak.
Game balance, the gloves really came off. Phreak's patch rundowns, as well as any other avenue he used to communicate with the community, became something of a gateway for people to turn him into a scapegoat.
Wait, I saw my name. I saw my name.
The community became something.
I actually saw my name. Petition to fire Phreak as a person. I want to clarify that I just don't want him to stop community backshare or remove him from the team. He had an issue about being very condescending towards people that may know more than him, and also only attacks Trollman's version of arguments about a decade. The newest video from Azzapp with 1P about the Vel'Koz changes verifies this fact, and there actually my video used to weaponize against him. Again, I just want to clarify. Okay, so all of this shebang happened, and he was attacking the Vel'Koz community, and it was stupid, and I even don't condone this. I never even asked for this. I even caveated, like, so many of my statements while everyone was burning. I took so much effort to be extremely precise with my words, what I'm saying, and to actually keep it in such a mild manner that the point is that the problem is communication. And this style, as soon as from patch 13.10, he becomes the lead. Patch rundowns are great. You can still do the patch rundowns, except you have to act as the game head. You cannot act as a lead game designer and pick fights with community. That's the same exact problem from before, but now it's exacerbated by the fact that you are the lead and people look at you, and everything you say is going to bounce back and hit you 10 times harder. My criticism was basically of his style of delivery and the problem. I took so much time and effort to actually say to people, like, you gotta relax, because the only reason, okay, here's the thing. I know how internet works. I know how people work. I know how psychology works. This whole Vel'Koz thing did not become big because people suddenly care about Vel'Koz balance and like the fact that we get our retribution and we get justice and the champion didn't work and the Riot team was wrong when they were, and they basically admitted that they were wrong after about certain abilities, which would prove them wrong. That's not why it became big. It became big because Phreak was involved. And people, already so many of them hated him. So they just piggyback on the hate. And I took so much time and effort to actually separate the people and say, if you're here just to hate on Phreak, like, it's not good. That's not what we're doing here. Granted, my movement became big because of that, by a good margin. It became big because of that. But I didn't want to engage in that behavior. And the whole death threat thing was like way before this. So I had to be even extremely careful what I say and how I say it to actually not go crazy in that direction. The fact that my thing is being used to actually petition to remove him is ridiculous. I never called for firing. I even said I do believe that he might actually be doing good work, and they're doing actually really good changes in the background. The game is doing really well right now. The problem is the way he delivers it.
Of a gateway for people to turn him into a scapegoat for any and every grievance they had with League of Legends.
True.
Even over things he didn't actually work on. Don't like Riot's new ping changes, for example. Phreak's fault. Even though, as far as we can tell, he wasn't even involved.
On the ping changes, he f***ed up. But yeah.
Why aren't you helping? Phreak on ping changes. Why? People don't ping me in solo queue anymore.
But like, why are so
not
many,
able to.
like, why are so many things reading like Riot Light?
Okay,
Are there public like figures that are positive towards a lot of things that he puts out?
They changed it so only you can see your pings. Wait, so if I ping my support, I can see my pings, but he can't see them. So what the f*** is the point? Am I just gonna talk to myself? About myself? To myself?
Cassante overpowered? Also Phreak's fault. Even though Cassante's reign of terror began when Phreak was still
That's just scapegoating.
I would pay him per game to play in a challenger lobby against a Cassante player. I would love to. You know, Phreak on his champion there, playing a like whatever he wants to play. Cassante just presses ult, flips him over a wall and one-shots him. I would love to watch.
Now, for better or for worse, Phreak's new job did mean that he was in charge of balancing the game.
Yes.
And obviously that put him in the spotlight anytime any new balance changes took place. But at some
yes, and putting an incendiary person with that type of style of communication in the spotlight is kind of like a mistake. It's a bit of a mistake, because if he doesn't change who he is, like if you're a head of Riot or like whoever's hiring him, you gotta give him like some feedback there, and you gotta give him some ideas. Like when you go out into the public, your patch roundhouse now cannot involve fighting the community. They cannot involve aggressive behavior towards community. You gotta be held at a higher standard as the lead. You have to have thick skin, absorb all the bullshit, because that comes with the job. It sucks, I know. You're getting very well compensated. Your Christmas bonus is good. You're tons of damage guy. You're still gonna do champions well, but for the love of God, do not fight the community on random issues, especially if you're wrong. Don't do it, you know?
Some point, it
they
just
should have told him
like
that.
The community sentiment around Phreak had just gone completely off the rails.
But he made a big up that portrays how he's willing to defend the change that nobody likes. Not only is he gonna defend the change, but because he was condescending, it came across as if he's attacking the player base for not agreeing with the Riot change, and people got mad. And, that was pretty good comedic, like with the change. Yeah, I wish we had more context on this, but yeah, it's like this is basically on the ping changes, and when he fought on the pings, and he defended the pings with the Cartus Press R bullshit. So,
did you want to hear this game? MVP. And bro, no way. The enemy jungler carried every game against Phreak. MVP.
Tarzan? Enemy jungle carried? Who the f else is gonna carry? It's always jungle, homie. Why is this surprising? This is like when you want to find something. You're like, oh, he nerfed jungle? That must be because he played a few games in jungle carried. Maybe there's correlation between jungle being broken, because it super was at that time. Like, this is just ridiculous, you know? This is like, you want to find something, you will find something. You can just find all kinds of coincidences in the world if you're looking for them. It's just pattern recognition, like, used in a wrong way. Oh wait, Phreak lost enemy jungle was fed. Yeah, that's why jungle got nerfed. Surely not because it was OP at the time.
MVP. This is why he's nerfing jungle, guys.
Yeah, guys.
The transcription of what Phreak said
ridiculous
about 80 carries not sucking, and I already just can like hear it in his voice and like in the condescending tone that he has.
But it also wasn't just the stuff that Phreak was saying. It was how he was saying it. People just weren't
he encapsulated my point.
A lot of the time.
You can type Karthus ult if you need to, by the way. It's not hard. You can type.
They use Hankook Twitter.
Anyway, like, Reckless benched himself while Ruler and Uzi continued to only play Marksman. Like, the literal reigning world champion and reigning MSI champion are still only playing Marksman, and Reckless goes, Marksmen aren't viable, you can only play mages, and I can't do it, I'm benching myself. Go at it, Whippo. These are the characters. These are the players we have. It's f***ing wild.
You have a bunch.
Again, as a lead, you don't do that. You keep your opinions to yourself. I mean, you can kind of go into it, but you got to be extremely careful. Like, to think that this, like, Phreak thing is just specifically because of Phreak. Like, just think about what happened. Who was the last guy? Mark Yetter? Like, I will never forget the name Mark Yetter because it's been mentioned so many times it's engraved in my brain. What he did, he didn't even type. He didn't care. Bro was doing his job. He was doing a decent job. He was just doing the changes. He understood that the job comes with this sort of plight of getting attacked by billion people, you know?
Bunch of people that all they want to do all day is play League, and they feel like their experience is ruined because of one guy. You know what I mean? It's almost like you go to school, right? And there's just one guy who he bullies you so often, they don't even want to go to school anymore. You know what I mean?
This type of... that's just comedic. Like, that's, like, obviously it's not one guy. All of these decisions go through multiple people. It's pretty fun. Public communication is so terrible. Phreak, he may be good behind the scenes, but as a communicator, he's abhorrent because he comes up very, very condescendingly.
Within just a
I mean, that could have used context. That was in context to the whole Vel'Koz shebang, right? That, Azzapp with 1P again. Yeah, that was in the context when they should have probably put in, like, how he attacked the entire community about being terrible, about not providing feedback. Then we provide feedback. He tells us it's wrong. Then turns out he was wrong. And they never apologize, never do shit. They just fix the change, like, silently. But yeah, like, whatever, you know? The point stands.
Full of months of Phreak stepping into his new role, the situation spiraled completely out of control, forcing him to basically quit social media entirely.
I still believe this is partially his fault. Like, don't get me wrong. People who, like, are typing death threats to a guy because of his job are just the worst scum who have nothing better to do in their life. They're so degenerate, right? Like, we can keep multiple opinions in our head, right? So we can put that on the side, but I think he exacerbated the situation way more by playing into it and attacking the communities, because it's such a stupid thing to do as a game lead. Those things can simultaneously be true. Please, Twitter, for the love of don't go either way, like, stupidly.
In November of 2023 to get away from a barrage of literal death threats.
Second section I will say here is that I am more or less going to quit social media for the immediate future.
Yeah, like, again, like, you can't have, it's kind of ridiculous to have a game lead who just does self-mute at 90 seconds into the game, right? You become a game lead, you queue up, you champ select, insta self-mute. That's like jungler self-muting at the start of the game. You're not playing that game. Like, you cannot have one-way communication. It just doesn't work.
The amount of toxicity has risen so sharply that it's not worth me seeing the occasional useful comment amidst all the death.
I wonder if there are people in his life who give him advice. Like, let's say how August handles it. August is a superb example how you can handle being a rioter. He's proudly announcing, like, on his stream every time he's live, I'm a rioter. If you have questions, DM. Like, that's insane. Inviting every lunatic on the internet to actually vent their complaints to you because you're a rioter, and he engages with that super friendly with everything. So yeah, I wonder if people give him actually advice, like how to handle this better. Does he not listen, or they don't give him advice at all, or what is happening, right? I just wonder. Like, I wish people would just help him out, how to handle criticism and how to handle being in the spotlight. It's not easy. I'm not saying this is easy. It's very difficult. I have utmost respect for Riot designers and what they're doing. And to even put that into perspective, I think the game right now is great. It's brilliant. It has so many good changes. And the game went from a very cascading potential catastrophe to a lot better state where it's actually very cool and there's a lot of macro engagement and people are playing the game and it's more chess-like and it's more interesting and more intensive right now. It's a good season. This is a good season, objectively speaking, compared to the previous ones. I think most of the changes they're doing recently are great. So yeah, just to put it out there. And I do believe Phreak is responsible for a lot of that. And I think he did a lot of good changes probably in the background for that.
Is what it is.
No matter how certain people may have felt about Phreak and League's balance, the only sane take here is that actual death threats were a bridge too far.
I know a lot of players hate Riot for many reasons, but it's like death threats that is unhinged.
But what about all those people who'd say...
Wait, is that the clip of Shayclone saying death threats are unhinged? Maybe Shayclone's reformed. I don't know, but it's kind of wild. Like if Shayclone says you're up, then you're up, you know, like you're on the so far high, like unhinged end, you know, like there's no saving you. Did it do the same thing? I am pretty sure, I don't want to claim it, but I'm pretty sure he did the same thing. He's an unhinged player. He just runs down like every third game. At least he used to. And it was like, he was famously mad at Riot for ruining his career because they banned his champs, and he's giga toxic. But yeah,
pretty long con if he was doing all of this just to get a couple of ganks. But that didn't stop people from expressing their opinions anyway.
Everyone is hitting Master these days.
Okay, I'm gonna say, this video is great and this video is terrible. Faithful representation and documentary and presenting ideas, it's just not that great. On the other hand, it's brilliant decision to make it about Phreak, because that's gonna bank every like league player and streamer is gonna watch this and they're gonna all vent their opinions on it. It's gonna boom up. It's algorithmically the correct video to make. It's just done in a weird way, you know. It could have been done a lot better, but but yeah, I mean, it doesn't have like that much substance, that much value. It just tells the story a little bit and misses a lot of context. But yeah, it's just piggybacking off of the hatred of Phreak to get the clicks.
Even Phreak hit Masters, I saw. Well, it's for sure easier to hit Masters these days compared to like the past.
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, Phreak does have a hand in a number of champion and balance changes. But let's be honest, no game patch in the history of competitive gaming has ever been met with unanimous approval. Don't forget, league devs have to balance the game for different roles, different skill levels, and even entirely different continents. There's always
glad they're including this.
Someone who ends up unhappy.
Most people don't even understand this. They're clueless.
You know, we don't reach all of our communities, but it's something I personally want to spend a lot more time on, especially because it's like quite literally my job to make sure the actual flow of the game like feels really good worldwide. It's like I need to be more in tune with what other communities are feeling. Like, yeah, I really know what the Reddit sentiment is, but like I do want to make sure I have a much more global perspective.
But unlike a lot of devs out there who generally prefer to remain anonymous, Phreak continues to keep the lines of communication open.
That's good. It's great.
Even by the community's own admission, whether they liked it or not, he has tried to explain a lot of the dev team's choices.
So I'm going to try to use...
That's great. Also, another thing, League dev team has been doing so great recently, both in the changes that are happening and the transparency. Phreak still continues to make these. Hopefully he doesn't pick any more stupid fights, and hopefully they told him like calm the down, right? It's like that drunk friend in a bar who just keeps like bad mouthing and talking people, and you're not in the mood to fight, but he's your homie, so you gotta kind of like step in there and defend him, you know. And you're like, dude, like what the are you doing? Hopefully people told him that, so he's gonna be chill now. And you have Riot Phreak, who's also been extremely vocal. Just recently wrote an insanely long post about everything and how everything is going. And every single patch it gives you a huge rundown of what's happening, how it's happening, why they're doing certain changes. I think the transparency is unparalleled with other games. I don't know a single game with this deep communication between the devs and the players. So yeah, I mean, you just can't satisfy everyone. That's just gonna be truth always.
This video for is more of the deep dive on bigger things that I was directly involved in or am thinking about. And so it's like, hey, why is this the patch in a sort of general sense and not why all the very specific changes?
Oh, this is so disturbing.
That's the root of all my problems. That is the Antichrist. His name is Phreak.
I also get I get way more flame. Oh my, like people, you know, didn't like my casting sometimes. People were cool. Man, there's when they think you've nerfed their champion, people are out there.
Yeah, they're like people are lunatics. That's for sure.
But, also, the job's really fun. So it's like, you know, there's obviously some bad, there's some good, but yeah, it's fun to do.
Except, let's not forget that no dev at any gaming company is ever an island. Riot wouldn't need a dev team if they just had one person, Phreak or anyone else, to make every decision.
I don't think there's a single thing I put in the game that did not have like 5 other people touch it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like, someone else has the project goal of like, we should raise AD carry satisfaction. Like that was there before I joined the team, and then we
because they're all working in a team and they're all trying to do different changes, and you can't have one guy and be like, yo, tomorrow we're gonna buff we're gonna buff this champ and we're gonna make it giga broken because I played, you know, like obviously not gonna say that. And they make this, and they know they're gonna have to work on fixing this champion and nerfing it 7 days later. So they're adding more work to themselves. Every decision they want to do has to be thought of in long term and how it's gonna affect them. And if you keep like around with one decision instead of making it one patch, you turn the decision into 4 patches to fix it. That's quadruple the amount of work the team is gonna have to do. So it's in everyone's best interest to not do the 4 times the amount of work. So when they do patch changes, they have to make sure the patch changes are good. They're cool, you know. Azzapp could get a spot in Riot Balance team. I hope so. I have very good respect for what they do, and I try to understand the game to the best of my abilities and try to understand these things. Granted, if that ever happens, I'm sure a lot of people would absolutely fucking hate me. And that's just the truth. It comes with the job, no matter what happens. Even if I do change or I don't do changes, that would just come with the job.
Of like who's gonna take what work, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, and then I have like version 1 of the changes, and it's like 80% of
Azzapp season,
and then 20% of that let's iterate on. And here's another thing,
like he can publish even the most, like here to paint a picture how lunatics, like how lunatic online communities can be and how like enthralled people are in their own identities and their gameplay and how emotional they can get. You can come out and say something as bland and the most obvious thing in the universe you can come up with. If you are good, you will climb, and then people are gonna lose their mind. Now granted, it's not going to be a lot of them, but you're still going to have like 5% of people who are going to be absolutely disgusted by your ability to voice your opinion that says if you're good, you will climb eventually. And how could you say that? Yesterday, I had a 0-20 guy who rained me down. I cannot climb. I have negative gains. I'm not winning. I'm Iron 4, by the way. That's just how people are. So no matter what, if you're in the public spotlight, you're going to have a bunch of people disliking you. And that's just one of those things like our bodies are not attuned to in this, because very like recently we've gained the ability to be hated by hundreds of people simultaneously online. Hatred back in the day meant you had a neighbor arch nemesis who's plotting to kill you, and whenever you go outside you have to be careful and see them and look at them and be like thinking what the is he planning, you know? Nowadays you can get hated by hundreds, thousands of people just by saying random online. Yeah, I think Phreak's mistake is like he doesn't understand that that's just a necessity, and that's gonna happen no matter how good of a job he does. And he picks fights, and he picks fights when he's wrong, and that's the biggest problem.
Like, I think you should do, and I'm like, that's a good idea. And so even the stuff where it's like, oh, it's like my project is like 30% me, 70% the team. Yeah. And then some stuff where it's like 0% me and just it's just their thing, right? But everything is going to be always very collaborative.
Still, in the same way that Gaben is the benevolent face of Valve and Bobby Kotick was the evil face of Blizzard, Phreak has become the somewhat divisive face of League of Legends. Despite everything that he's done for the community over the course of a decade, Phreak is basically the face of every game of League you've ever lost.
What I think about Phreak? I think since he became in balance team, the game went to complete dog shit, so yeah.
Not true. Absolutely not true. The perception of the game balance went to shit. The game actually improved, but yeah, it's hard to discern that for the community because people just go off of like what Twitter types and what's popular, you know. It's popular to hate on Phreak, instantly Phreak had a game has to be game garbage, every mistake is exacerbated, every mistake is the biggest mistake in the world that happened, every champion is broken, is the most broken champion, except that we had that every single year, every single season, there's broken champs, right?
Is all of the hate that comes with it fair or justified? Not really. But is it literally a symptom of how our brains work? Absolutely. Luckily for Phreak,
that's a good point. Okay, that kind of salvages the video. It is a symptom of how our brains work. Yes, that's actually very, very correct. I respect that. I've seen some conversations about David Phreak, thoroughly promotion, the balance team lead, and what to expect. Yes, also, Frogzone vouch extremely well for Phreak, saying that he does a good job, and Frogzone seems to be a very, very competent man, so yeah. Why is their families blaming Phreak? Yeah, this is absolutely true. We also said this, you know. Build diversity is super great right now. You're right, KJ. Thanks for 11, man. Appreciate it. Build diversity is great. The only things are the externalities, the things outside the game, like that come from like communication, pings. That's obviously a horrible mistake. The FF15, that's a horrible mistake. Those two are pushing the game into like direction, but the other, like when it comes to in-game change, they're making very good changes. Removing the mythics, finally they pulled that trigger, which takes a lot of effort because you have to redesign all of the items, and you have to essentially admit that mythic items were a failure. So it took a lot of work to actually fix that. And think about this, okay? You can have every single Phreak hater in the world, every single one of these people are hating the current dev team. Compile a team of 20, 50, I don't give a shit how many people you want who are like-minded, you know, who think like you. Compile all of those teams and try to redesign items after removing mythics. How much broken did we have at the start of the season? The answer is very little. I expected the entire game to not work. Because you're redesigning every single item, essentially. What happens? What happens when you design every single item? First of all, that has to interact with all the other items. That has to interact with all the other champions. That has to interact with all the different abilities of the champions. Need I remind you that one Karma skin broke Viego ability to possess somebody and made games crash? You have so much spaghetti leftovers everywhere that every sort of minor interaction can work with itself to actually break the game completely. You can have so many broken items, broken synergies, combos, everything, okay? And to redesign the entire items overhaul and to make the game work immediately without preseason is a ridiculous feat. And I'll stand this and say this proudly. I think they did a great job. So yeah, I don't think any one of you who are saying that the Riot games suck currently and their dev team and Phreak and all that could have done any better.
In his corner. And perhaps one day in the not so distant future, the League community can take a page out of their own book and, when it comes to Phreak at least, find a little bit more balance.
It's really fun like seeing like actual like human beings get to like play with the things I changed. Like, oh, it's really, really cool. Like they had a new experience because of like stuff that I got to have a hand.
I love that he I love that he said actual human beings. Holy shit, he's throwing shade at Vel'Koz mains not being humans. God damn it. That was a fun time. That was a fun time. I don't know. I hope you guys understood what I say, and like I try to keep to like my opinions very, very balanced, and I try to understand every single side. So yeah. Oh, good video. Glad we watched that.